What if I told you that the biggest difference between the rich and everyone else isn't what's in their bank accounts, but what's in their biology? Today, we're diving into the science of how the wealthy actually think, and we're going to uncover how you can literally rewire your brain for success. So let's just start with a really provocative question. Is wealth actually all in your head? I mean, could the gap between having a lot and having a little really begin inside our own skulls? Well, it turns out the science is surprisingly clear on this. The answer is a huge yes. Brain scans from thousands of people show that those with a wealthy mindset have brains that are measurably different. But here's the kicker, the most important part. This is not permanent. It's biology, yeah, but it's a biology that you can absolutely change. So the big question is, how? How do you actually do it? Well, we're going to walk through 4 very specific mindsets that scientists have pinned down as being key. We'll kick things off with the secret behind what makes a rich brain. Then we'll dive into the 4 thought patterns that build it, playing the long game, spotting opportunities, always learning, and finally taking full ownership. All right, let's get right into the core idea here. The secret to a rich brain isn't about what you have. It's not about what you inherit or who you know. It is all about how your brain is actively wired by the thoughts you have and the decisions you make every single day. And this is what researchers have dubbed the wealth mindset. Now, let's be super clear. This isn't just about thinking positive and hoping for the best. Nope. It's a very specific set of 4 thought patterns that, when you practice them, create real, tangible neurological changes in your brain. These changes literally reshape your brain to make wealth-building actions feel more automatic, more you. Okay, so that brings us to our very first mindset, playing the long game. And this is all about a simple but, oh man, an incredibly powerful idea, delayed gratification. And there's no better example of this than a famous study out of Stanford way back in 1972. You might have heard of it. It's called the marshmallow test. And the results were so mind-blowing that researchers actually ended up tracking the people in the study for the next 40 years. The setup was pretty simple. A little kid was left alone in a room with a marshmallow. They were told, hey, if you don't eat this for 15 minutes, you'll get a second one. So what happened? About 70% of the kids just couldn't wait. They gobbled it up right away. But a crucial 30%, they managed to hold out for that bigger reward. Now, here's where it gets absolutely incredible. That 30% who waited, they didn't just get an extra marshmallow. 40 years of follow-up studies found they had better grades, higher paying jobs, more wealth, and even lower rates of addiction and debt. Later on, brain scans showed why. The self-control parts of their brains were physically stronger. The simple act of thinking long-term had rewired their brains for success. And this isn't just some lab experiment. Think about Jeff Bezos. He famously used this exact type of long-term thinking when he was deciding whether to leave his cushy job to start Amazon. He asked himself, when I'm 80, am I going to regret not trying this? That long-term view pushed him to take a huge short-term risk for a massive long-term reward. See, thinking long-term lets you see the bigger picture, and that is absolutely essential for our second mindset, spotting opportunities. This is all about training your brain to become like a wealth detector, constantly scanning your environment for possibilities that other people just walk right past. A Harvard Business School study just nails this. Researchers put wealthy people and average income people in rooms that were full of hidden money-making opportunities. The results? It was staggering. 70% of the wealthy participants found at least 2 of these opportunities, while only 18%, just 18% of the average group found even 1. Their brains were just wired differently. They saw potential where others saw nothing. And this skill, it translates directly into results. I mean, check this out. 85% of self-made millionaires have at least 3 different streams of income. They're not just getting lucky over and over again. They're constantly spotting and then acting on new opportunities. So how do you actually get this skill? Well, successful people don't just chase 10 shiny objects at once. They follow a really clear process. First, they lock down one predictable source of income, right? A stable job or business. Once that's solid, they start actively looking for a second opportunity. Then they work to master that new thing until it's also predictable, and only then do they repeat the process. It's this methodical, one-at-a-time expansion. But, how do you get better at spotting those opportunities in the first place? Well, that is fueled by our third mindset, always be learning. This is about a huge shift, seeing your time not as something you spend, but as an asset you invest in knowledge. And it's an investment that pays crazy dividends. There was a financial planner, Thomas Corley, who spent 5 years tracking the daily habits of rich and poor people. And what he found was this huge, stark contrast. Almost 90% of the wealthy people spent at least 30 minutes a day learning something new related to their goals. Meanwhile, 95% of those who were struggling financially spent that same time on passive entertainment. Let's make this super real. Imagine two friends, Rahul and Ankur. They both lose their jobs during lockdown, right? They've got the same 9 months of free time ahead of them. Rahul spends his days binging Netflix, just consuming entertainment. Ankur, on the other hand, decides to invest his time, and he learns a new skill, like video editing. Fast forward 9 months. The outcomes could not be more different. Rahul is still out of a job, blaming the bad market. But Ankur, who invested his time in learning that new skill, he's now earning 1.5 lakh a month as a freelancer. Same situation, different mindset, totally different results. And that story leads us perfectly into our final, and honestly, probably the most powerful mindset of all, taking full ownership. This is the bedrock belief that you and only you are the CEO of your own life. The London School of Economics asked 10,000 people a really simple question. Why are you in your current financial spot? The answers fell into two very clear groups. You had the blamers, who pointed fingers everywhere else. The economy's bad, the government's failing, there are no opportunities. But then you had the owners. They pointed the finger right back at themselves. They said, I made good decisions, I was persistent, I took responsibility. And guess what? Brain scans showed these owners had more activity in the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO region. This whole ownership mentality is really about facing down those common excuses that hold us all back. You know them, we've all heard them, we've probably even said them ourselves. I don't have enough money. I just don't have the time. I don't have the right connections. I don't have the skills. The trick is to flip every single one of those excuses into an action. No money becomes, okay, how can I start a business with zero investment? No time becomes, I'm going to use my commute time to learn. No connections becomes, right, I'm going to go build them in online communities. And no skills becomes the motivation to go learn them for free right now. It's all about shifting from passive excuses to active solutions. So, there you have it. Let's recap the blueprint for rewiring your brain. Step 1. Think long-term. Always prioritize those future rewards. Step 2. Become an opportunity detector and build your income streams methodically, one by one. Step 3. Commit to daily focused learning. And step 4, take absolute ownership. Ditch the excuses and take responsibility for your financial life. Look, these are not just nice ideas to think about. They are scientifically proven thought patterns that can physically change your brain and in turn change your entire financial future. The blueprint is right here. It's yours. So really, the only question left is, which one of these mindsets are you going to start building first?